I wish you were my son, he said, his voice a grudging whisper, oblivious to the truth of who I was. My brother, seated beside him, let out a sharp, mocking laugh, muttering something I couldn't catch. My heart raced, a storm of nerves and determination swelling inside me. This was it. The moment I'd been building toward for years. The moment I'd unveil the life I'd crafted in the shadows of their rejection. They didn't know me, but I was done hiding. I'd become someone they never imagined. And now, in their hour of need, they'd turn to me without knowing it. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm 30, a lawyer, a wife, a mother. These are the titles I've earned, forged from a past that tried to break me. This story is about facing the family who discarded me, proving my worth, and finding freedom in my truth. Stay with me, because if you've ever felt invisible, you'll feel every step of this journey, and the ending will leave you standing taller. I was born into a family bound by rigid traditions, where a son was the prize and a daughter like me was a footnote. When my younger brother arrived, my parents' world tilted. He was their legacy, the golden boy destined to inherit their construction empire in Atlanta. I was 6 when they decided I didn't fit their vision. They drove me to an orphanage, my mother's voice trembling as she said, "This is for your own good, Sarah. You'll have a better life." I clung to her hand, begging, but she pulled away, tears in her eyes, and my father, too weak to face me, stayed in the car. The door closed, and they never looked back. The orphanage was a harsh teacher. Cold walls, thin blankets, and the ache of abandonment shaped me. But I turned that pain into fuel. I buried myself in books, earned scholarships, and clawed my way to law school, graduating with honors. Becoming a lawyer wasn't just a job. It was my way of seizing control, of proving I wasn't the burden they'd labeled me. Life moved forward. I married David, a steady, kind man who became my rock. We had a daughter, Lily, whose bright eyes and fearless spirit remind me daily what love should feel like. She's my heart, the center of the world I built from nothing. But the scars of my childhood lingered, a quiet ache that never fully faded. Out of curiosity, or maybe a need for answers, I looked up my family years later. They were thriving, or so it seemed. My parents, James and Margaret Mitchell, and my brother Ethan, ran a construction empire, their name on billboards across the city. It hurt to see them flourish while I'd been erased. I called the orphanage hoping for some trace of remorse, but the answer was stark. They'd never once inquired about me. Then fate twisted. Their empire began to crumble. Lawsuits, bad contracts, a sinking reputation. Desperate, they hired my firm, not knowing I worked there. My boss, unaware of my past, assigned me their case. I could have refused, but something stopped me. This wasn't about them. It was about me, proving I could rise above their betrayal. I took the case, keeping my identity hidden. Now, here I was, sitting across from the family who'd thrown me away, their fate in my hands. They didn't recognize me, and I wasn't ready to tell them. Not yet. "Who do you think you are, questioning me?" My father snapped, his eyes boring into me across the conference table. I kept my face calm, though my pulse hammered. "I'm the lawyer you hired to save your company," I said evenly. "If you want me to succeed, I need the truth about how you got into this mess." "That means honesty from everyone here." Ethan scoffed, leaning back. "Typical," he muttered. "We're supposed to spill everything to someone who's never run a business like ours?" My father rubbed his temples, frustration etched into his face. "We don't need speeches. We need fixes. We're wasting time." His words stung, but I'd learned long ago to bury the hurt. "Then let me do my job," I said. "It's your only shot at survival." I opened my folder, scanning the notes I'd pored over for hours. "Let's start with the lawsuits," I began, voice steady. "You're facing multiple claims, contract breaches, unpaid vendors, and unsafe work conditions on your sites. The negligence could cost you millions." Ethan rolled his eyes. "Those are overblown. We've dealt with worse." I met his gaze, unflinching. "Overblown or not, they're real. Unpaid vendors are ready to sue, and the safety violations? One case involves a worker's severe injury, preventable with basic oversight. If that goes to trial, your reputation's done. My father shifted, silent but tense. I pressed on. Your contracts are a mess. Vague terms, missed deadlines, outright violations. That's not just a financial hit, it's a trust killer. What do you suggest? My father asked, his tone gruff but less hostile, a hint of curiosity breaking through. Immediate action, I said. Settle the urgent lawsuits out of court. It's painful but safer than trials. Audit every contract, rewrite the weak ones, and set up strict compliance rules to avoid more mistakes. You can't afford another injury claim. Ethan muttered, That's a lot of money for damage control. It's all you've got left, I shot back. Do it right and you'll stop the bleeding and have a chance to rebuild. My father's eyes lingered on me, thoughtful, while Ethan scowled. That night, after tucking Lily into bed, I sat at the kitchen table, a cold cup of tea in front of me. David joined me, his warm eyes searching my face. Rough day? He asked softly. I sighed. It's heavier than I expected. They don't know I'm their daughter, and I'm sitting there fixing their mess, pretending I'm just a lawyer. It feels wrong, like I'm lying. He leaned forward. You're not lying, Sarah. You're doing the job they hired you for, and you're doing it better than they deserve. But why are you doing this? For them or for you? I ran a hand through my hair. I thought it was for me, to prove I'm bigger than their betrayal. But now I'm not sure. What if I'm just chasing their approval, even after everything? David took my hand. You're allowed to feel torn, but you're not chasing them. You're showing yourself who you are, and I know you'll stay, true to that. His words eased the knot in my chest, but the weight remained. I just don't want to lose myself in this, I whispered. You won't, he said firmly. I'm right here with you. The next morning, my father and Ethan arrived late for our follow-up, bickering as they entered. My father's face was stern, Ethan's smug, like he'd already decided I was wasting their time. I stayed professional, laying out the agenda. We need to focus on the biggest lawsuit, I said, opening a file. A contractor's suing for breach of contract. The damages could bankrupt you if it goes to court. My father's expression darkened. That's nonsense, he said. Contractors always inflate their claims. I held his gaze. The evidence is solid. Emails, signed agreements, missed payments. If you don't settle, you'll lose more. Then money. You'll lose credibility. Ethan snorted. So we just cave and pay them? You settle to limit the damage, I said, locking eyes with him. Dragging this out will cost more. My father sighed. How much are we talking? I slid a document across. This is a fair offer to the contractor. It's not perfect, but it's your best move. Ethan grabbed it, sneering. This is absurd. They didn't deliver on time either. Ethan, I said, voice steady, this isn't about fair, it's about survival. A trial could double the cost and tank your name. My father was quiet, considering. And the other lawsuits? He asked. 2 can be settled similarly, I said. But the injury claim is trickier. It could explode in court, big damages, bad press. I suggest a mediator to resolve it fast. Ethan tossed the document down. You're acting like we're one step from collapse. You are, I said bluntly. Ignore this and there's nothing left to save. That night, holding Lily as she slept, her tiny hand clutching my finger, memories of the orphanage flooded back. The sterile halls, the scratchy blanket I hugged, pretending it was my mother's embrace. I saw her face, eyes averted, voice shaky as she lied. This is for the best. My father wasn't even there, too cowardly to face me. I heard my own sobs as the orphanage door shut, their car fading into the distance. Looking at Lily, I vowed she'd never know that pain. She'd always feel wanted, seen, loved. She was my reason to keep going. Over weeks, I noticed my father's demeanor shift. His sharp tone softened. He listened when I spoke, even nodded at my strategies. He grew short with Ethan, cutting him off when he interrupted me. Once, during a tense talk about contract fixes, he snapped, "If you'd paid attention, Ethan, we wouldn't be here." I stayed silent, watching their dynamic crack. It was strange, almost disorienting, to see my father lean on me while Ethan's defiance faltered. Part of me wanted to call out the irony, but I held back. The work came first. At another meeting, my father greeted me with a nod and a faint smile, something I'd never seen aimed at me. As I updated him on the lawsuits, he said, "Smart approach," his voice genuine. I blinked, masking the emotions his words stirred. Later, he grew reflective. "You're precise," he said, almost to himself. "You cut through the chaos. You remind me of someone." I glanced at him, wary. He sighed. "My wife. She had that same clarity, always saw the right path. She passed last year. She'd have admired you." His words hit like a blow. My mother, gone. The woman who'd left me, who'd broken every promise, was dead, and I'd never get to ask why. Grief and anger tangled inside me, but I swallowed, it nodding politely. "Thank you," I said, voice steady despite the storm within. That night, I sat on the couch, staring blankly at the TV. David brought me tea, sitting close. "You're quiet," he said. "What's wrong?" I gripped the mug. "My dad mentioned my mom, said I'm like her, that she'd have liked me. I didn't know she was gone until today. I'll never get to confront her, to understand why she left me." David's hand found mine. "That's heavy, Sarah. You've carried this hurt so long, and now it's hitting fresh. But you don't need her answers to heal. You've built something incredible without them." I nodded, tears prickling. "I know, but hearing him praise her like she was perfect, it hurt." He squeezed my hand. "You'll navigate this, like always." With strength, months later, the company was stabilizing. Lawsuits were settled or mediated, contracts tightened, and new rules kept chaos at bay. Employees seemed lighter, hopeful. At the final meeting, my father and Ethan waited, less hostile than before. My father stood as I entered, a small gesture. That startled me. "We owe you thanks," he said, voice halting but sincere. Ethan crossed his arms, muttering, "Let's not overdo it. We're not safe yet." I ignored him, stacking my papers. "You're not," I said calmly, "but you've got a path now. Stick to it and you'll survive." As I closed the meeting, Ethan leaned back, smirking. "Guess even a broken clock's right twice a day," he said, dripping condescension. I paused, but before I could respond, my father's voice cracked like thunder. "Enough, Ethan!" he barked, slamming the table. Ethan froze, stunned. My father's face was tight with anger. He turned to me, his eyes softening. "I wish you were my son," he said quietly. The words hung in the air, a spark to the fuse I'd carried for years. I stood slowly, heart pounding but voice steady. "I'm not your son," I said, each word deliberate. "And you lost the right to call me your daughter when you left me at that orphanage." My father's face paled. Ethan's smirk vanished. The truth landed like a grenade. "You didn't even show up," I continued, voice rising. "You let Mom do it, let her walk away while I begged, crying for her to stay. You never looked back, not once. I grew up wondering why I wasn't enough, why you threw me away. And now you sit here, asking me to save the empire you chose over me. Well, I did it. I saved your company." My father gripped the table, shock and shame in his eyes. I turned to Ethan, his confusion raw. "You don't even know who I am, do you?" I said, voice trembling. "They never told you about the sister they abandoned." His jaw dropped, speechless. I straightened, resolve steadying me. "I saved your company. Not for you, not for Ethan, but to prove I'm stronger than your betrayal, better than the people who left me. We're done now. Whatever bond we might have had, you broke it that day at the orphanage." I looked at Ethan. "I'm not mad at you. You didn't know, but now you do. Be better. Don't expect me to watch." To my father, I said, softer, but firm, You taught me one thing, who I never want to be. For that, I guess I'm grateful. I gathered my things and walked out, their silence heavy behind me. That night, I held Lily close, her tiny fingers in mine. David handed me hot chocolate, whipped cream swirling on top, and sat beside me. I'm proud of you, he said. I looked at Lily's peaceful face, my heart full. I'm proud of me too, I said, smiling. For the first time, I was free, unseen no more, standing tall in the life I'd built.